Hello everyone. In this video we are going to study now the middle cranial fossa. In this diagram you can make out that this middle step of the base of the skull, this is the middle cranial fossa. That means the middle cranial fossa is formed by partly the body of the sphenoid, partly by the greater wing of the sphenoid on this side and this side, and this wedge over here is the petrous part of the temporal bone. So it is formed by the anterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone and partly by the squamous part of the temporal bone, and over here a little bit of the parietal bone towards the terion. So it's mostly formed by the greater wing of the sphenoid, part of the body of the sphenoid, and part of the petrous temporal bone. Whereas you can make out that the occipital bone is confined to the posterior cranial fossa. So it appears that the body of the sphenoid actually participates in anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa as well as posterior cranial fossa. And of the petrous part of the temporal bone, the anterior surface is part of the middle cranial fossa, the posterior surface is part of the posterior cranial fossa, and this superior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone is the dividing line between the middle and the posterior cranial fossa. On the body of the sphenoid, the dorsum sellae over here, from where you have the sloping clevus, this dorsum sellae forms the margin between the middle and the posterior cranial fossa. It will be clear when we see a magnified view. So this is the middle cranial fossa. So in anterior cranial fossa, in the midline, when we were studying the body of the sphenoid, we stopped at the jugum sphenoidal and the optic canal over here formed by the diverging lesser wings of the sphenoid. So we will continue from behind the jugum sphenoidally in the midline and from behind the posterior margins of the lesser wing on the sides. Let us look at an enlarged view. So here you have an enlarged view, and here you can make out in details the structures of the middle cranial fossa. Here you can see the posterior margin of the lesser wing of the sphenoid, and this as usual is the antenoid process, the diverging roots of the antenoid process, and here you had the optic canal, and over here you have the carotidoclinoid foramen. The middle clinoid process was here, and between anterior and middle clinoid process you had the carotidoclinoid ligament, and the internal carotid artery was taking up a loop from underneath the carotidoclinoid ligament. So behind the jugum sphenoidale, the first structure that we come across in the midline is the sulcus chiasmatis. This structure. This sulcus chiasmatis, this depression, is related to the optic chiasma, but the optic chiasma is not exactly touching the sulcus chiasmatis, or it's not lying in the sulcus chiasmatis also, but it is some distance above. Anyway, it is close to the sulcus chiasmatis. That much we can say. And beyond the sulcus chiasmatis, you have this elevation which is called the tuberculum sellae. So this is another elevation. You have the elevation of the jugum sphenoidale in front. You have the elevation of the tuberculum sellae behind. So to the edges of the tuberculum sellae over here, you have the middle clinoid processes over here and over here. So sulcus chiasmatis and tuberculum sellae and the middle clinoid processes over here. So anterior clinoid process, middle clinoid process. Now behind this sulcus chiasmatis and the tuberculum sellae, you have this depression. This depression is called the hypophyseal fossa. It lodges the pituitary gland, and on the posterior margin of this depression you have this elevation of the dorsum sellae. Now this dorsum sellae laterally has two pointed elevations. These are the posterior clinoid processes. So anterior clinoid processes, which are the tips of the lesser wings, the middle clinoid processes over here, which are the lateral margins of the tuberculum sellae, and the posterior clinoid processes over here, which are the lateral ends of the dorsum sellae. Now beyond this dorsum sellae you are going into the posterior cranial fossa. So we will leave this area for the time being. So we will consider the midline. We have still not finished with the midline. So over here we have said between anterior and middle clinoid process you had the carotidoclinoid ligament. Between the anterior and posterior clinoid process you have the interclinoid ligament. And between the middle clinoid process and the posterior clinoid process you have the attachment of another meningeal fold that is called the diaphragma sellae. So the diaphragma sellae is attached like this to the middle and posterior clinoid processes. And in the central part of the diaphragma sellae you have a small opening for the stalk of the pituitary. So the diaphragma sellae, this diaphragm is almost totally closing the hypophyseal fossa, leaving a narrow central gap for the passage of the stalk of the pituitary gland. So much so this is the diaphragma sellae. And by the sides, if you come to this, so we have finished with the central part, that is you have the sulcus chiasmatis, tuberculum sellae, middle clinoid process, the hypophyseal fossa, dorsum sellae, posterior clinoid process, the attachment of the interclinoid ligament, carotidoclinoid ligament. And another thing we have said that we were discussing the attachment of the tentorium cerebelli. We had said that it has a fixed margin and it has a free margin, and we had said that the fixed margin comes and gets attached over here to the posterior clinoid process. So this is the fixed margin of the tentorium cerebelli getting attached like this. It is attached to this superior border of the petrous temporal. As you can see, we have drawn along the superior border of the petrous temporal and we have reached the posterior clinoid process. And the free margin is somewhat like this, overlapping the fixed margin and in this direction. So this is how the termination of the tentorium cerebelli looks like. So you have a fixed margin and you have a free margin, and the free margin overlaps the fixed margin to get attached to the anterior clinoid process, and the fixed margin passes from below to be attached to the posterior clinoid process. So these are other attachments that we have to study. So we have gone through the tentorium cerebelli now, and now we are in a position to shift from the midline to the sides of the middle cranial fossa. Another point that you must keep in mind, that this tuberculum sellae, hypophyseal fossa and dorsum sellae together, these form a deep basin, and this basin is totally called the sella turcica or the Turkish saddle. I don't know how the Turkish saddle differs from ordinary saddles. Perhaps they have a high anterior and posterior rim, just like the sella turcica in the base of the skull. Now if we move to the sides, we are going to the posterior margin of the lesser wing of the sphenoid, and from here we have to cover up the space right up to the superior border of the petrous temporal bone. So we have to cover from here to here. Now if you look at the major part of the greater wing of the sphenoid, this major part of the greater wing of the sphenoid lodges the temporal lobe of the brain, and somewhere here anteriorly is the temporal pole of the brain. So the temporal lobe of the brain and the temporal pole of the brain are lodged there, over here. And if we look at the part of the greater wing of the sphenoid which is attached to the body, this narrow portion over here where the greater wing of the sphenoid is attached to the body, just by the side of the body you can make out a shallow depression over here, and that shallow depression over here lodges the cavernous sinus as well as the internal carotid artery. So if you have to draw the cavernous sinus, it would be somewhere here. This is the position of the cavernous sinus, and this cavernous sinus is on either side of the body of the sphenoid, and within the cavernous sinus you have passing medially the internal carotid artery, and as you know it rises above like this. So you have both the cavernous sinus and the internal carotid artery just by the side of the body of the sphenoid. And one another structure which you have to take a look at